It's weird to think that 3 years ago on this day, I had completed one of the most challenging, life-changing, and best decisions I've ever made in my life. Let's take a little road trip back. So, 3 years ago, not exactly on this date, but a little bit before that, I had made the decision to move down here to Florida to live with my significant other, Nikki. And this was before my mom had passed away. This wasn't a split-hair decision. This wasn't something that was taken lightly. This was thought out, processed, planned, and things slowly started coming together. And unfortunately, during this process is when my mother passed away. But thankfully, I had and have a great group of people that help support me and make sure that I'm okay, help me whenever I need it. So the process was made a lot harder because not only was I preparing to basically change my life forever, but I was also having to take care of legal matters as far as my mother's passing and trying to get everything squared away for it while I was trying to prepare for my new life. I knew eventually that I would be leaving West Virginia. I wasn't going to live there all my life, and it's nothing against West Virginia because I was born there, raised there. There will always be a place in my heart for it, but it got to the point where there was just nothing holding me there anymore. There was no reason to stay in West Virginia anymore. And the following 2 months after my mother had passed away was probably some of the most exciting, some of the most difficult, some of the most anxiety-driven weeks I had ever had in my life. I had to make sure that everything in the house was prepared. I had to make sure all of the legal issues were ready. I had to make sure that I was ready. And it was insane. The fact it was technically it could have been a 2-day trip, but we decided to make it 3, considering that Nikki had never seen Myrtle Beach before, and considering it was a large part of my life, I wanted to share that with them and show them around and just give them a glimpse into what my life was. But a long drive down, thanks to Thomas on the way down to South Carolina, and then myself driving a good 9 hours from South Carolina to Florida. Even though Nikki offered to drive the U-Haul, I was stubborn. I was like, no, I need to do this. And I'm glad I did, because I just felt like I needed to complete the journey. And after 3 years of making my life here, I can definitely say this is home. Now, that's not to say that I don't love West Virginia. Like I said before, there will always be a place in my heart for West Virginia. You know, I owe most of my life to that state. But now that things have moved forward and I've had plenty of time to settle in, I can safely say that Florida is my new home. It honestly feels like where I belong. It's funny because whenever Mom was still alive, she had always joked with me about moving somewhere further south. I don't think she meant this far south. Because we had always joked about moving to Myrtle Beach instead of Florida, but Florida is where I ended up. And I can personally say I never see myself going back as far as moving there and living there. Now, will I go back to visit? Yeah, one day. I haven't been back in the 3 years that I moved down here. I've been to other states. I flew up to Ohio for a convention, but that's about it. But I haven't thought about going back to West Virginia for now, as far as visiting, or necessarily a reason to visit. At least not yet. But it's just... It's crazy because it was the first big move I've ever made in my life. Now, I've moved from house to house in West Virginia. You know, it's not that big a deal. But moving, one, on your own without your parents, which, thank God I have Nikki, or else I don't know what I would have done as far as, you know, moving away. But two, moving into an entirely new state that you've only visited a few times. But I can safely say that Florida has definitely become my new home, and I honestly couldn't be happier. Yes, there have been struggles. Yes, there have been complications, but that's life. You just have to roll with the punches and do the best that you can. But one day I'll go back to West Virginia to at least visit, because I do have friends there still. I have a little bit of family still there. But it's just incredible to think that it's been 3 years since everything has happened, and at the same time it doesn't feel like it's been any time at all. It's a weird in between, because yes, it's been 3 years. There's some days where I'm like, oh my God, I've been here forever. And other days it just feels like I just brought my first box in from the U-Haul, putting it into the garage and just being like, holy crap, I'm here finally. But I'm glad I did it. I have no regrets about it, and this is my life now. And I honestly couldn't be happier, to be honest. It's a weird, bittersweet feeling, because some days, yeah, I miss West Virginia. Other days, I'm like, why? How in the world did I survive there? But after 3 years, I can safely say this is definitely my new home. But it doesn't mean, you know, I'm not going to travel anywhere. I'm not going to go visit anybody or anything like that. So, but to everybody that helped with this, thank you so much for making this help happen. Whether you were just there spiritually or physically helping me, it means the world to me, because I honestly could not see myself anywhere else now in my life. With all that sappy stuff out of the way, I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll be making more content soon.